I mean, the for me, I think that the biggest agent of change is one word, and that word is no. And no is a really, really scary word. So if we're talking, let's put you in the position that you're in now and hypothetically talk about you come into the show and you feel like, you know what, this seems like it's going to be fairly decent hours. I talk to them, the deadlines aren't crazy, but then all of a sudden the unrealistic schedules just do this, right? We've all seen this happen. It's this accordion effect where all of a sudden things become very, very unrealistic and unmanageable. But if you're in a position where you haven't better managed your finances, and you don't have a network of people and you're thinking, oh my God, it was so hard to get this job. And if I lose this job, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know anybody else. It could take me months to find another one. Of course, you're going to say yes. But if you put yourself in a position where financially, you know, if you have no other choice, you can walk, and you've also built a network of professionals that you can leave and say the next day, you know what, I'm going to reach out to these 10 different people, and hopefully in the next few weeks I can get on a show. It is so much easier for you to have the confidence to say, no, I am not going to meet your unrealistic deadlines and expectations. A phrase that I've used more than once that probably doesn't make producers or directors or showrunners terribly enamored with working for me, but I've said it more than once that your lack of scheduling is not my problem. That is your problem. So if these deadlines are unmeetable, you need to fix something because I'm not going to sacrifice myself for your unrealistic deadline. So a story that I've told more than once before is when I just began Cobra Kai. It was season 2, but it was my season 1. And it was maybe the first week or two they had brought on basically the entire post-production department. They had done an overhaul and it was all new people. And the producer that was running the department, she had sent us the calendar for the season. And it wasn't even her calendar. It was more the studio kind of putting together a preliminary calendar based on the shooting schedule. We were all trying to figure it out. And she came in and we talked about the calendar, and I just set the record straight right there, knowing that if what I had said wasn't going to come off well, I probably wasn't on the right show. And I said, listen, I got your calendar. This is what I have to say. As long as you understand that I'm not going to be able to meet a single one of your delivery deadlines, then you and I are going to get along just fine. If you expect that these are meetable, then I'm on the wrong show because these expectations are not meetable. And P.S., I'm actually pretty good at what I do, and I can't hit any of your deadlines. And she kind of laughs and she's like, yeah, I know. Calendar needs a lot of work. We'll figure it out as we go along. And I thought, all right, we're good. Like we're going to be able to figure this out as a team, and we work together with what were somewhat unrealistic expectations. But if I just said, oh, yep, I'll do my best. I'll make sure that I meet all of these, and I sacrifice myself without telling anybody, and I do unpaid nights and weekends because I don't want to look bad. I don't want to be the difficult one. But instead, I just said, no, I can't meet these expectations. Not because I'm not good at what I do, not because I'm poor at time management. I'm very good at what I do, and I'm excellent at time management. I can't do this. So let's figure out another way. And that set the course for the culture of the show for the next 2 seasons.
That's great. I think that's a great example. And saying no, like you said, it sounds simple. It's hard to do. And
simple, not easy.
Simple, not easy. And you get better at it with practice. And it took me a while, and it took time to find a way to do that as well. And, you know, you have to manage upwards. And I think I would say for people coming into the industry as assistants and new people coming up, learn your manager, you know, like try and, I think we can take what you just said there earlier on and actually be like, okay, Eleanor, you know, you as a trainee, you can kind of interview your first. You know, if someone's interviewing you for a job, you can interview that person and first and kind of get a feel for how they're going to be as a manager, and potentially let that help you decide whether that's the job I want to take, or maybe the post supervisor, because they may be the person interviewing you as well, or a combination of the two. And that's something that we can all take away, unless we really need the job, of course. And in that case, refer to earlier points about financial management and so on and so on.
Exactly. And one thing that I want to add to that too is that you need to learn how to frame saying no in the right way. This is another communication skill that, especially amongst introverts and editors, like, communication skills are not our strong suit. If it were, we probably wouldn't spend our lives in small dark rooms by ourselves. But the really important communication skill is reframing. So if it's a matter of, no, I'm not going to meet your expectations, these are dumb, obviously that's not going to work. However, the way that I frame it is, I want to be able to give you the best show I possibly can. You are not setting me up to be able to do that. If you want me to cut a great show and you want me to be just as energetic, as enthusiastic as I am on the final day I lock picture on the finale as I am today, this calendar is not going to allow that. So what you need to do is set me up for success instead of barely making sure I don't fail. And I think that's a fallacy of the way that so many calendars are set up in our industry right now. It's just about the money, but they're thinking, how can we make sure people don't fail? Instead of how do we set people up to succeed and get the most out of them? And because the business and the work culture is not set up that way, I have to do it myself. But I'll say to the showrunners, listen, you guys want to work late, that's fine. But I'm going to come in tomorrow and I will have mortgaged hours of creativity to get in these extra 2 hours tonight. So it's actually a net loss. So why don't we just call it a night, start fresh tomorrow, and we're going to end up being further ahead by the end of the week anyway. And when you reframe it as, I'm doing this for the sake of the show and for the sake of all of us, as opposed to, well, I just don't want to do this, this is dumb. That's one way to be able to soften the blow of saying no, is always reframing it around other people's needs.
And in relation to all of this, I think, the key thing here is that maybe this pandemic has given us all time to just actually stop and think about this stuff. Because when you're just going from show to show, it's a lot of reactive kind of living and a lot of reactive thinking, and you're just getting by day to day and you're just getting by show to show, and you don't always have the time to really step back and kind of think about this stuff. And I'm hoping that this webinar and all these webinars and just the time, everyone can put on the brakes a little bit and think about this stuff, and kind of we can all revamp ourselves as we go back to work and think about things we want to start slowly trying to change.